The documentary opens with a montage of idyllic, small-town Texas life. Sunsets over fields, a barbecue with friends, a man fishing on a quiet lake. The soundscape is gentle, punctuated by warm, folksy guitar music. This is Chambers County. This is Joseph Hartsfield's world. We then hear a jarring 911 call. "He's not breathing, my husband, he's not breathing." The voice is Sarah Hartsfield's, frantic but with an unsettling edge. The music cuts to tense, low thrum. On screen we see a chaotic scene in a hospital room. Doctors and nurses swarm around a gurney. A doctor holds up a small vial. "Insulin," he says, his face grim, but he's not a diabetic. This cold, hard fact is the first sign that something is terribly wrong. We cut to interviews with Joseph's friends and family. A high school buddy, a neighbor, a nephew. They describe Joseph as a man of simple pleasures and deep integrity. "He was the kind of man who would give you the shirt off his back," his nephew says, his voice thick with emotion. We see a series of home videos and old photos of Joseph, smiling, laughing, living a life that was honest and good. Then the story of how he met Sarah. The scene is in a local diner. Sarah, dressed impeccably, sees Joseph sitting alone. She slides into his booth with a confident smile. Her dialogue is not just charming, it's a strategic dance. She probes for his vulnerabilities, his hopes, his past heartbreaks. She listens intently, almost like a detective gathering information. This isn't a random encounter, it's a calculated opening move. Their romance is a whirlwind. He's swept off his feet, she's the perfect match, funny, intelligent, adventurous. They get married within months. We see home video footage of their simple, loving ceremony. Her performance as the devoted wife is flawless. She talks about building a life together, about retiring early and traveling. Joseph's friends note how happy he is, but also mention a subtle change. He seems to be more dependent on her, always looking to her for approval. The first signs of trouble appear subtly. Joseph starts to feel weak and disoriented. At first, he shrugs it off as stress or a bug, but the episodes become more frequent. We see a scene where he's gardening, suddenly swaying on his feet. Sarah rushes to him with a glass of juice. "Drink this, honey, you need to get your sugar up." She's always there, always ready with a solution. This is not a caring wife, it's a poisoner managing her victim. A doctor's visit reveals nothing concrete. Joseph is told he's just run down. He's given a clean bill of health, which Sarah uses to dismiss his concerns. "See, I told you it was nothing to worry about." Joseph's condition deteriorates rapidly. He's in and out of the hospital. The doctors are baffled. His blood sugar levels swing wildly and he has symptoms that mimic a host of diseases. We hear from a series of doctors and nurses who were involved in his care. One nurse, a veteran of the ICU, recalls a gut feeling. "Something just wasn't right," she says. The wife, she never left his side. And she always had a drink for him, a pill, something. It felt like she was controlling everything. The climax of part 1. Joseph is rushed to the ER convulsing. He is in a hypoglycemic coma. The medical team is in a frenzy. As a last resort, a doctor orders a full toxicology screen, including a test for insulin. The nurse is the one who notices something odd. She finds a small, unlabeled vial in Sarah's purse while she is getting water. Sarah feigns a gasp of shock when she sees it, but the nurse knows something is off. The test results come back. The insulin levels in Joseph's blood are off the charts. The doctor looks at the nurse, then at Sarah, a cold, hard suspicion in his eyes. The final shot is a slow, unnerving zoom on Sarah's face. The panic she initially displayed has vanished. It's replaced by a blank, cold emptiness, as if a mask has been removed. The documentary opens with the arrival of detectives at the hospital. They've been called in by the medical staff. The tone is now that of a police procedural. They immediately interview Sarah. She is calm, composed, even though she is being questioned about her husband's death. She denies any knowledge of the insulin and spins a convincing tale of a devoted wife, a story of tragedy, not murder. The detectives, led by a no-nonsense investigator, immediately feel something is off. They begin a deep background check on Sarah Hartsfield. The information comes back in a torrent: multiple marriages, multiple deceased husbands. A red flag turns into a 5-alarm fire. The detective sits in his office, a wall of photos and documents laid out before him, a spiderweb of connections. We dive deep into the first of Sarah's previous marriages, a man named Mark. A long, detailed segment with interviews from his estranged children. They tell a story of a happy, healthy man who, after marrying Sarah, began to suffer from a series of unexplained illnesses. The children describe how Sarah became overly possessive, controlling Mark's finances and his social life. We see old family photos of Mark looking thin, pale, and exhausted. His death was officially ruled a heart attack, but his son says with conviction, "It was never a heart attack. She killed him, we just couldn't prove it." The second husband, David. The story is eerily similar. The police interview his neighbors and friends. We hear about a man who was an avid runner and in peak physical condition. His death was also attributed to natural causes. A neighbor recalls a strange conversation with Sarah after David's death. She told me he had a bad heart his whole life, but I ran with the guy every morning. His heart was a machine. The lie is exposed and the pattern becomes undeniable. The prosecution team gets involved. Mallory Vargas, the lead prosecutor, sees the big picture. She takes a skeptical look at the evidence, but after hearing the accounts from the previous families, she's convinced. A scene shows her outlining her case to her team on a whiteboard, connecting the dots between the deaths. It's a series of coincidences, each one more chilling than the last. She says a line from the article which becomes a mantra for the series: "What a wild coincidence that no person can leave her without consequences." We explore the motive. It's not just about money, though she did inherit from each of them. It's about control. A retired psychologist explains the profile of a serial killer motivated by power and control, a black widow. This adds a layer of intellectual analysis to the emotional horror. The police arrive at Sarah's home with a search warrant. She's defiant, but they find what they're looking for: a hidden compartment with vials of insulin, prescription pads from a hospital where she worked years ago, and a collection of diaries filled with cryptic entries about her projects and failures. The camera zooms in on a page where a name is crossed out, and J. Hartsfield is written below it. The chilling evidence confirms everything. The trial begins. The courtroom is a spectacle. Media, reporters, and the families of the victims fill the benches. The atmosphere is tense. The prosecution, Mallory Vargas, delivers a powerful and emotional opening statement laying out the narrative of a woman who preyed on good men. Case Darwin, the defense attorney, follows with a confident, aggressive argument, dismissing the prosecution's case as a fictional story built on innuendo. We hear from the medical examiner who performed Joseph's autopsy. He presents scientific evidence in a way that is simple for the viewer to understand. He explains how the massive dose of insulin led to his death, leaving no room for doubt about the cause. This is the core of the episode. We meet the families of the other victims. They take the stand one by one, each one a heartbreaking story. A son tearfully recounts his father's last days. A daughter reads from her father's journal where he wrote about his fears that Sarah was trying to harm him. The stories are powerful, emotional, and overwhelming in their consistency. The defense attorney, Case Darwin, is brilliant in his cross-examinations. He points out that none of these deaths were ever ruled a homicide. He says these are all tragic, coincidental deaths that the prosecution is now twisting into a sinister narrative to convict his client. He calls them unsubstantiated innuendo, and for a moment, the jury seems to waver. A surprise witness is introduced, an ex-girlfriend of one of the previous victims. She testifies that the man told her he was so scared of Sarah that he changed his will and told his family, "If anything happens to me, you know who did it." This testimony, a direct link from a victim to Sarah, provides a devastating blow to the defense's case. A renowned toxicologist takes the stand. He's a calm, professorial figure. He explains in simple terms the effects of insulin on the human body, detailing how it causes the body to shut down, mimicking a heart attack or other natural causes. He says he has reviewed the autopsy reports of all the deceased men, and that in his professional opinion, the deaths were consistent with insulin poisoning. This is the moment the scientific evidence solidifies the circumstantial evidence. The final witness for the prosecution is the detective who found the hidden vial of insulin and the diaries. He lays out the final, irrefutable evidence. He reads a chilling entry from the diary where Sarah writes about a man who was too strong and was a failure for her, a chilling admission of her twisted intentions. The defense's closing argument is a powerful plea for reasonable doubt. Case Darwin argues that the prosecution has not provided a single piece of evidence that places the insulin in Sarah's hands. He says that the pattern of deaths is merely a series of tragic coincidences, and that to convict his client would be a grave injustice based on emotion, not evidence. He reminds the jury that a life sentence is at stake. Mallory Vargas delivers her final, masterful closing. She doesn't raise her voice. She simply looks at the jury, and in a calm, steady tone, she dismantles every single one of the defense's arguments. She connects every piece of the puzzle: the insulin, the diaries, the testimonies of the families. She speaks the line from the article, "What a wild coincidence that no person can leave her without consequences," and says that this pattern of death is the only proof they need. The jury is a microcosm of society. We see their deliberations in real time. They argue, they doubt, they question. One juror is immediately convinced. Another is a skeptic, clinging to the defense's argument about reasonable doubt. We see them look at the evidence, at the photos of the victims, and at a large chart the prosecution used to map out the deaths. The discussion is tense with moments of profound silence. It shows the true burden of a jury. Please, I know you're enjoying this video. Please kindly like, share, and click the subscribe button for more crime stories like this. Thank you. The courtroom is packed and silent. The air is thick with anticipation. The foreman stands and reads the verdict. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant, Sarah Hartsfield, guilty. A wave of emotion sweeps through the courtroom, tears, silent cheers, and the quiet dignity of justice. The camera focuses on Sarah's face. There is no shock, no sadness, just a blank stare. The final scene shows Sarah being sentenced to life in prison. We see her handcuffed, being led away. The final narration sums it all up. This is not a story of a single murder, but a story of a pattern, of a dark life that finally caught up to her. It's a powerful ending to a chilling tale, a reminder that some coincidences aren't coincidences at all. The last shot is a fade to black, leaving the audience to process the devastating truth.